everyone. So this is something that I wanted to try out. For a long time, I wanted to do sort of like a podcast or a live stream or a video post on doing interviews with a lot of folks who are working, especially in the local environment. So I'm based out of Chennai, and I wanted to interview a lot of developers in the local Chennai area and maybe even expand it to across the country and see what Indian and local developers are doing, what are the challenges that they're facing, what are their learnings, and so on. So this was a New Year resolution for me, and then 2020 took a huge turn, and now I think we are in a new normal where everyone is starting to get into some rhythm, and I felt like this is probably the right time to start sort of like a podcast series that I always wanted to do. And for the first episode of such a trial, I felt it was very appropriate for me to start up with folks who are starting off in the industry themselves. So I have with me 5 new grads who have joined Meta in the last couple of months. They have been going through a bootcamp process in the company, and they are from all across the country. And now with the new situation going around, they are also spread across the country now, and then trying to adapt towards a remote form of work. So we'll start up with the introductions of each and everyone. Yeah, go ahead. Arsh, you want to start?
Yes, so hi everyone, I am Harsh. So I am from New Delhi and I'm actually a first year dropout because I had been interested in programming from a very young age. So I learned stuff through online courses. So my main computer science education is through online courses and a coding boot camp. So I just wanted to get into the industry, and so through the coding boot camp, I joined Avalara here.
All right. Dhaval, you want to go next?
Hello everyone, I'm Dhavisha. I've joined Avalara as an engineering intern from 3rd Feb 2020 at Chennai office. I'm from Indore, Madhya Pradesh. My schooling is from St. Paul Higher Secondary School,
Hello.
I've done my BE in computer engineering from Institute of Engineering and Technology. I've joined Avalara as Avalara visited our college as a campus placement. So yeah, here I am.
You want to go next, Sagar?
Yeah, hello everyone. Myself Sagar Gupta. I am from Indore. I am a software engineer intern at Avalara. I am a final year undergrad, so I am pursuing bachelor's in computer science from Institute of Technology, DAVV Indore. Uh, so yeah.
Kavin, you want to go next?
Yeah, hey folks, I'm Kavan Sabarwal. I'm from Pune. I recently graduated from NIT Nagpur as an electronics and communication engineer, and I've just joined Avalara as a software engineer. So my induction to Avalara was through my company's hiring process, campus placements.
And Utkarsh?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Utkarsh Paliwal and I'm from Lucknow. I've recently joined in Chennai office of Avalara as a software engineering intern. And I'm currently doing also my BTech from SRM Institute of Science and Technology. And I had the CSC Computer Science Engineering over there. And from July onwards, I'll be joining as a full-time employee at Avalara.
Cool. Welcome all to the Avalara family. So for this episode, we wanted to mainly concentrate on three very broad questions or discussions. So one of the main ones is what is happening in the bootcamp, right? So all of you as interns or grads are going through a bootcamp process in Avalara, and the process is while it is set, it is also tailored for the individual. Especially Kavin can talk about it, I believe. He's doing a sort of like a ML track in the bootcamp. And so, how do you find the bootcamp to be? That is the first point of discussion. And next, we want to talk about how is college syllabus or college education, right? Preparing new grads and interns who are entering into the industry. How is it preparing or how is it not preparing? And with Arsh, who's a first year dropout, like he mentioned, things get very interesting. So we can also compare it with how he feels doing this boot camp and how he feels he's lacking something or not lacking something, and how he's able to cope up with the industry essentially. And the last part essentially is probably applicable to all of us, not just uh, new interns and grads, but probably it's new joinees in any company a lot more, which is the current situation around whatever is happening in the world, and everyone is working from their home or remote. And a lot of companies, while they do have a bit of work from home policy in place, not all of them are suitable for remote work, which is also in large part true for our setup as well. So while we do encourage people to work from home whenever they need to or want to, uh, remote working has not been the core part of it. So how are folks coping up with it? What are the biggest challenges, especially for someone who needs a lot of guidance from others in the company, both in terms of bootcamp, getting info on what is happening from actual product and business side of things, right? So those are the three broad areas that I wanted to talk to you all about, right? So let's start off with the first one. So how is the bootcamp going? What is what is your bootcamp looking like, and what are the things that you like about it? What are the things you don't like about it? Just we can have a discussion around it. Any of you can start off with it, and then others can add points wherever you feel appropriate.
So I guess I'll go. Hey folks, so it's been 3 months, around 3 months since I started my bootcamp. I started off in February 23rd ish. So the first thing, so it's my bootcamp was basically structured around 3 modules. The first part was CI/CD. So basically setting up pipelines using a software called GoCD. There are various other automation softwares available as well. So what that entire procedure looks like and what it means to set up a pipeline and how you would go about learning and setting up one. That was the first, in the first 2 weeks, that's what I picked up. Also, it involved learning shell scripting, basic, shell scripting and Linux Unix terminal usage. So, and this was the first phase. The second phase was around object-oriented programming. So we basically had 4 not that difficult programming problems, which we had to implement them using an object-oriented way, right? And we had to write successful unit tests for each and every single program which we wrote each and every single module which we solved. So this was more along structuring the standard. So if you're a university graduate, you would be used to coding, doing solving problems from lead code or HackerRank, right? But that's not the. It's pretty sounds obvious, but that's not the way that actually happens in the industry. You need to learn how to code in an object-oriented way, and you need to focus on code reusability. So you're not just writing code for yourself; you're also writing it for others. Other people are going to read your code, and they're going to also use particular instances of it, right? So it's you need to start thinking from a OOPS perspective and from a readability and reusability perspective. So that was the second phase of the bootcamp. I also briefly delved into web scraping. So for a period of 2 weeks, I also learned how to scrape any the website which is like a standard HTML website, but even if it has a little bit of JavaScript, that's also fine. So say you want to build your own database or you want to build your own data set, right? So how would you go about procuring data when it's not available cleanly? Say if you're doing a Kaggle competition, you would already have all of the data pre-processed and ready for you. But if you want to scrape together your own data set, how would you go about doing this? So web scraping is also another important facet which you should pick up on. And lastly, the phase which I'm just about wrapping up now is the ML phase of the bootcamp. So I do have some ML experience from college, but the bootcamp which I'm doing right now gives me a strong foundation on the various parts of ML, particularly structured around deep learning. And the company which I'm working for, Avalara, we're all from Avalara. So Avalara mostly deals with NLP. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. So basically, the various aspects of deep learning, how to implement them. I'm doing a course called, a very popular deep learning course called Fast AI. So this deals with all sorts of various aspects of deep learning, such as computer vision, even tabular data and NLP. So I'm just about done completing this course now, and I'll soon start working as a full-time engineer. Yeah, so that was my what my bootcamp was structured as. I would say it's a tremendous learning experience where you think, like, once you graduate from college, you are very oriented. Your mind is oriented around solving problems in as efficiently as possible. You basically thinking from a lead code perspective, where you want to solve it solve a given problem as quickly as possible, right? From a competitive coding perspective, but you need in my bootcamp, I learned how to change that perspective and think around a code readability and reusability perspective. And I learned the various small things which you take for granted in college, but are very, very important in a production environment, like CI/CD pipelines, like shell scripting. Git is another very, very important thing which I learned. Version control is again a very important aspect of production development. So I would say focus on these things as well when you're in university, and it would give you a big advantage when you join industry. You would already know all of these things beforehand, rather than coming on site and learning them, which would take up a lot of your time. Yeah, so those are my takeaways from the bootcamp.
Thanks, Kevin. That was very comprehensive. And I do have a question for you, but let's get other people's views on their boot camps, and then we'll come back to that.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm ready to go. So my bootcamp started. So it started with learning Scala. Scala was a kind of a different language because it put emphasis so much on functional programming. So I had a lot of practice on recursion, and it helped me a bit to get into Scala because Scala used higher order functions. So we did completely functional programming in Scala. So it was a bit challenging to get into Scala at first, but with the course that I was doing to learn Scala and with exercises I got in the bootcamp, it got much easier to learn Scala. Then we moved on to like solving object-oriented problems with Scala. So as Kevin said, so it was a fundamental shift because I had to write code not just for myself, for others, because more code is burden. So you have to write code in the simplest manner. So then anybody who reads your code, even you read your code after like few weeks, still you can understand quickly and get on working with it. So, and then I progressed onto web scraping. So we used a library in Scala to do web scraping and to deal with like nested paginations and do web scraping like that. And currently I am in the third phase of the bootcamp where I am learning about big data technologies to analyze huge chunks of data and run them on clusters, submit jobs, and get your output. So it was a tremendous learning experience in the bootcamp. Many things were completely new to me because I had not done that much time in coding. So the object-oriented writing code was kind of new to me. Maybe if I would have been college, I would have spent more time on it. But certainly, I got to learn here a lot in the object-oriented writing code in an object-oriented fashion. And Git was also one more thing that I am gaining slowly mastery of it by working here, by submitting my assignments through Git. So Git has been one very useful tool in the whole bootcamp. So that's kind of about my bootcamp experience.
Thanks, Harsh. Anyone else?
So
I
I'd
think
like to go
most
next.
of you do have a very similar bootcamp apart from Kavin, right? So yeah, any other points that you would like to add as well? How is it different for you, especially compared to what Harsh was saying, right? So how is it different for you three?
So I'd like to first tell about myself, my bootcamp. I'm also doing the same. Like I joined in Avalara on 2nd of March, and it has been around 1 month and 10 days or so. One important fact that, as Kevin mentioned, that we are very much wired to do in college. We are very much wired to do programs that are most efficient in the manner of like space complexity, time complexity. when I came to when I came to the industry, I realized that it's not always true that you have to write the programs as space efficient as possible. It needs to be more of reusable code. I like we all have studied about inheritance. We all have studied about interfaces and all, but when we use it in actual technology, actual any product that is working, we learn the implementation, why are interfaces used actually, why are abstract classes. We all know the concept. I have like learned in college. I have implemented those as well. I have written answers, but still I always had a doubt that yes, like I always used to have this thing that how it can be used in production, and now I'm able to see it. Like recently I did that program on IX shop, which we have to scrape a website and get all the details of the product. So over there we could have used normal strings for scraping data, but no, we were asked to do it using uh, reusable code, such that more and more people can see and understand, and abstraction is very important over there. And one more thing I'd like to add, that college, I didn't learn in college, I'd say, reading documentation, because over there we have books, we have guidance from teachers, and whenever we encounter a problem, we can easily go to the teacher or anywhere on the net, but not the documentation. I never focused very much on the documentation. Now where I'm doing akka streams and Scala and all, I have to I got to learn how to read documentation and how to get inference from that and apply it in my program. So that is very important fact that one needs to learn. And Git is obviously one important fact. And that's all, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of good points, Utkarsh. I think one thing that I always say is, while time complexity and space complexity are important, the most important is code complexity, right? So especially in industry, I think I've worked a lot with Kevin in the last couple of months, but I always say like code should be the most important part of it. It should be readable. And it should work. Even I think in our industry, or sometimes when we want to do perfect code, right, we underestimate code that works, right? Code that works is the most important thing, and then code that is readable, right? And then we can then talk about how to optimize it, how to make it fast and all that, or even in some cases flashy, use all the latest like syntax sugar and all that, right? All concepts. But first is code that works and addresses the problem, and then code that is readable for others who are working with it. Yeah, I think yeah, I'll sometimes give such gyan like this during this session, but yeah, I think you highlighted some of those very well. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, so hello everyone. My bootcamp is same as Harsh and Utkarsh. So I also in our bootcamp, in my bootcamp, there are also multiple modules. Like there are 4 modules, and each module we learn different technologies. Like in first module we learn about Scala. In second module we learn how to use how to process a stream of data asynchronously, and in third module we learn how to deal with big technology. So I would like to say that yeah, this is a big shift for me because when I was in college, I generally used to write a program which is a single file program which works on a small data set. The data set is generally around 1 KB or 10 KB maximum. But right now I am writing a program which works on hundreds of MB of data sets. So it's really a new shift for me, like writing a program for this huge data set and see how it's going to be work on the clusters, how to upload it, how to run it over the server. So it's really great for me to learn all these things. Like it's really huge shift. Along with that, and generally in college, I just tried program for myself, but now the correctness of program is necessary, but other factors of software engineering, like it should be scalable, flexible, more readable, simple, short. It should those points are also need to be kept in eye while writing a program. And the testing part is also important. Like when we are in college, we do not focus on the testing part. We just write our code and see, okay, how this part is running. But in industries, when we write some code, we need to test it ourselves on our end first. So it is very important to test that. Yeah, that's about my bootcamp.
I would like to add some points like during my bootcamp, I have learned some inbuilt higher order functions that we have to use. What I have learned is not doing the hard coding for all the time and using the features and functionalities that are provided by the particular technology is important. This improves the readability of the code, and also it is simpler to do a functionality with the inbuilt functions, and it is more efficient. Uh, some more points that I will like to add from my perspective of doing the study in college is that in college we have very less practical implementation of the things that we study. Like one is designing, like everybody told that it is important to use the OOPS concepts, and we have to know where to use them and where not to use them. So this is not being taught in colleges. That's one thing that I faced when I shifted to this professional world. Uh, yeah, that's the main thing, and the rest all have covered.
Yeah, we'll go into the details of how the college syllabus is in the next section. I think so. Coming back to one of the questions that I had for Kavin. So, Kavin, within the 10 days of your bootcamp or so, right, you made a push to production, isn't it? So, you actually pushed a feature that is in now actually live, that is being used in some part of it. So, what do you think about that? Is that too much of a pressure on a new grad or an intern, or is that something that should be followed so that you get some checkpoint saying, Hey, I've done this," and should that be more frequent? Should that be less frequent? Should it be there, not be there? And once you talk about it, others can also pitch in on what you feel about that.
Yeah, sure. So, in my opinion, it's a very, very valuable part, was a very, very valuable part of the learning process. And I think for everybody, it really brings a lot to the table. So basically, in the first 2 weeks of the bootcamp, I pushed a small um, module, you could say, to production, where basically we the employees in a company had all of their notebooks backed up in a S3 bucket. If I'm not wrong, correct me. S3 bucket, right? Yeah, in a S3 bucket. And my job was to basically run a automation pipeline which converted all those. So all these notebooks were these are I'm referring to as Jupyter notebooks. So Jupyter notebooks are not ideal for version control, and my task was to convert all of these notebooks into standard Python, and then so yeah, to set up a pipeline to convert all of them to standard Python and push them to a Git repository, and to do this periodically, automatically. So this was a huge learning experience for me, because it allowed, gave me an insight into the various steps or processes that I need to learn in order to do this. So it's not just one thing. In order to just set up this pipeline, I learned the CI/CD, what is CI/CD and how is it important for a production environment. I learned shell scripting, basic shell scripting. I learned Git and version control, and I learned GoCD, which is software to automate pipelines. So even a small contributing contributing on a small task in a production environment will give you a huge learning takeaway. So I would say it was definitely a huge plus, and it also gave me a huge, I won't say sense of accomplishment, but like it really made me feel like, okay, I've contributed something. Like I'm not just, even though I'm in my boot camp, I did make a contribution with the company's, in infrastructure. So that was also another, that psychological component is also there. So I would say it's a huge plus, and it definitely should be included in other boot camps as well. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
take.
I think, sorry. So the one thing that it really highlights is to push anything into proper usage or production. This was not even customer facing, but we will take anything as production in production if it is actually being used by others and it's actually serving purpose, right? So, and just to push a small feature, you need to do some shell scripting. You need to connect to certain instances and do something. You need to understand about where it's stored with S3, get into the cloud aspect of things. You need to understand your pipelines, CI, CD, and then get it going, test it out, and all that, right? So just to push a single feature, it requires so many things that you have to learn about and then coordinate and do end to end. And then if you're doing some web app, you need to make sure that the UI side of things is taken care of. And with that comes in a lot of other things. If it is service, you have to make sure that the service endpoint is being properly documented. It has a proper set of contract to it, and so on, right? So even to do a small change requires so many things to be learned end to end. So that's I think that's where what you were getting at as well. So that highlights like some of the things that we do in a bootcamp where we learn something, say shell scripting and do something around it. It all comes together when we do some actual feature and then push it to production. That's both a sense of accomplishment and then like you'll be like, okay, I whatever I've learned has some value and can start contributing, right? So, anything else that you guys want to talk about? So, what I would specifically like to do is since we have been iterating on these kind of bootcamp a lot, I would also start thinking about how to introduce such points in the bootcamp such that people can contribute more towards live systems as they do the bootcamp. And since you folks are the ones who have done it more recently, you should also find avenues so that anyone else who's joining can also start contributing to live systems as they do the bootcamp. So the bootcamp material itself is a living document. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Once you all essentially graduate out of it, you should also make sure that it's being improved upon, and we can also include some of these things in the bootcamp as well. Yeah, go ahead, others.
So like I would like to say one thing that in the boot camp I had to learn a new language, Scala, right? So functional programming was very new for me. Had I known this earlier that we have to learn Scala, I could have used my time before joining for some better use and have learned Scala. Because right now, what the thing is like comparing to college, we first used to have a first used to learn a language and then implement it in some project. Now what is happening is I'm learning as well as implementing both like simultaneously. And whenever I face some problem in the code that I'm writing, I search on the net, I try to read documentation. I many a times find that okay, that the course which I'm following, the solution to the problem which I'm facing in the project was given in the course later on. So this can be structured as a thing that yes, we can tell them that you must know this part of the Scala language or whatever Akka strings or whatever you are doing currently, so that you will be not having any problem implementing it over the production in the
Yeah,
production.
so I think the main takeaway from that is have some sort of a pre-reading material list,
Yeah.
which you can use before coming to a bootcamp, so that not all time in the bootcamp is used up learning a syntax and intricacies of a new language or something like that, right? So that is the
Kind of, yes.
main takeaway. Dhaval and Sagar, was it the same case for you also? Like, or did you start working on Scala a bit before as well?
Um, Actually, when we were got placed after 15 days, we had started our internship on means work from home because it was taking quite time to get the internship joining date. So Ashwant, me and Sagar were having everyday calls on that, and we had started learning Scala. So we didn't had that much time to read.
Okay, okay. So it was due to moving start date of the internship that you had to do that. So, but I think it's a valid point. But one thing that we have to be cognizant of is also that for especially for someone new, Scala is not really a very simple
Yeah.
language in many ways. It needs,
That,
uh, I think, yeah, by seeing all of you shake your heads, I can realize that. So for me personally, right, when I joined the company, right, Scala was new for me then as well, which was like 5 years back, right? But I knew that the company was a Scala company, so I took my time to do the initial Scala works. But I didn't have to learn other things around how to do proper OOP, how to do proper systems and all that, how to write proper code. So I could bring in a lot of that learning and then just focus on learning Scala and some of those functional aspect of things. And even functional programming, I was much more familiar with than before Scala. You can see this shirt here. I used to do a bit of F sharp before Scala. So so for me, I did before joining the company, I did spend some time to go through the Martin course on Coursera, do some read the Scala for the impatient book. So it worked out for me. But Scala is not really a language that there are both aspects to it. That is what I'm trying to say. So we should definitely try it out, but it's also something that might put too much of pressure on people if you have your own coursework to complete, and then also having expectations on learn Scala and come and start immediately get productive on the bootcamp might not be suitable for everyone. So, but something definitely to try out, right? So yeah, but I think definitely on the other side of things, like around ML side of things, maybe going through the ML bootcamp as a prerequisite, right? The ML Coursera course, right? From uh, Andrew. So if I think some of those can be made a prerequisite because it's uh, much more at a base level, and the course is structured in a way that anyone can pick it up and then start going without spending a lot of time while also handling college work. Would that make sense, Kavin? What do you think
Yeah,
about it?
definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
at this point, the Coursera and doing ML course is so ubiquitous that almost
Yeah, yeah.
everybody.
Almost anyone has already done it. Also, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of in that state where everyone is doing it. Anyone I talk to, do the Andrew NG course. They are like, yeah, of course I've done that. What next? So yeah.
Right,
For
right,
for
right.
me, I didn't do it. Obviously, I don't know if it was even available when I was in college, but which was 10 years back. But I did it only after joining this company, right? So when I started doing a bit of ML. So yeah, most of you are much ahead in that terms. But Scala, I think we'll have to try it out and see how it goes uh, without having to put a lot of pressure. I think it also makes sense to do something and also learn it rather than just learn it. We've talked about it, right? In pushing things to a proper life system and all. So sometimes it might become like you're just learning something, just like another college work. Uh, to not be too mean on college work, but it can become something like that. So there are both sides to it. We'll have to find which works, and we might even have to take call for specific folks to do it in specific ways based on how people want to learn themselves and all that. Right? That might work out.
One more thing I want to add that before starting with the boot camp, Ashwant told us to do the missing semester portion. So if we can add that in also the prerequisite of something, or like before starting the boot camp, we can do that shell scripting, or we can read a 1 week material for that. That will be great because uh, with the boot camp we have to do that. Scripting, we have to learn that scripting because in colleges we are not taught that scripting languages or something, shell scripting. So that will be better if we can add that in the boot camp or before boot camp. So
Yeah, coming up with the pre-reading material is essentially, which can include things like Git,
yeah,
at least the basics of Git, some bit of shell scripting, some bit of CI/CD. All that makes sense, I think. Yeah, we should definitely come up with such a list so that the time during bootcamp is utilized well, both for the people who are doing it as well as those who are mentoring the folks, right? Yeah, makes sense. So I think we have addressed a bit of or a lot around how college is helping or not helping out. I think we talked about things like Git not being there. We talked about object-oriented programming being taught more in a theoretical level and not in like proper use. Like I can relate to that. Like it took me like at least few months into work to realize that inheritance is not just about animal and cat inheriting and then doing and then also introducing dog and ask them to shout or something like that. So it was very theoretical and it took some understanding of how to do things and then um, going into things like design patterns and all that it, things started to make much more sense. Anything that you folks would want to add, like what is missing from a college perspective, or even Arsh, you can start with your opinions also on this.
So I don't know actually what things I had missed if I had done college. So I think like college makes you like accustomed to doing hard work over the 4 years, doing a lot of subjects. So when you are in the industry, even if you have to pick a new language, you're accustomed to hard work and so you can do it easily.
Yeah. Yeah, Harsh, in my opinion, you're on the right track. You haven't missed out anything at all, at least as per me. Because so, uh, I was from, my branch was electronics and communication. So I honestly, I think in my first year I had C programming, basic C programming. But apart from that, there was nothing which I learned in college, which I applied on the job. Maybe assembly language gave me a good foothold since that's focused on in electronics. Now, this may differ from university to university, but my university did not teach me, at least from second year onwards, programming. So I'm completely self-taught. So yeah, if you're from a non-CS background, I would say not just the ML bootcamp. Like there are definitely a lot of good resources to learn computer science foundations from. So even in Coursera and edX, there are many good MOOCs available which you can look into. And at least that's the part which I took. Yeah.
Yeah, I think many in the industry would agree that at this point in time, at least, while a college degree, especially like Kavin is also even talking about a CS degree, is nice to have, but never, no, or I think it's never been a must-have for someone to enter into the industry and do well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I worked with a lot of folks in my previous company who were top class developers and programmers, and their background was from physics and so on. So both college degree as well as the major of the degree uh, is
Yeah,
is
because the
worth
curriculum, yeah,
yeah.
the curriculum is not of kind of updated. So I saw the subjects, and a lot of them I am not very much interested in. I just wanted to build systems, make projects. So I had that mind. So and a traditional degree, covered so many different things that I think that might not that will be not any of use to me. So that's why I uh, moved on to learn myself the things I was interested in.
I would like to add something like in the last semester, I mean seventh semester of ours, we have some courses that are means important in this day-to-day life means in this technology world. Like we have machine learning, uh, artificial intelligence, cloud computing. But that semester also we had our placement, so we didn't get much time to study those subjects very nicely or in a great depth, so that we that can help us in the professional world. So they might means if they have to shift something, they can shift those subjects in the third year or something, so that we can have a better understanding for that subjects which are important.
And I'd
So I
like
think
to say one
colleges are
thing
like,
that, like as Harsh said, that it teaches us to handle things. In a way, that is true also, because what I felt is like we always used to have one language, one semester. Although one semester is a lot of time to learn one language, or any technology based like data mining, machine learning, or anything. We used to have, and even in one semester, only the first 3 months were related to studies and all, and the rest of it was exams itself. So uh, college might not be teaching us Git or this deployment stuff, but it definitely tells us about meeting deadlines, handling things like to submit projects, and actually, like I have done BTech, so this is true that engineering teaches us that handling things in a better way, and that is kind of helping me right now because when I have to submit a project on some deadline. I won't call it deadline, but we have a discussion that yes, it should be complete by tomorrow. Then yes, I have such experience that tomorrow I have to submit an assignment, and now I have to submit the project. So this helps, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I think that the college life is also important. Like we have many fundamental core subjects of computer science, like we have operating system, networking, database, algorithms. So I think that those core subjects are necessary to get started in industries. Like if we already go through this subject, then picking up things is a little bit simpler. Like if a naive person directly goes into industries, then it will become little bit difficult for him to understand how networks works and how data get transferred from one node to another node, and how OS works. So I think that basic knowledge of all these things should be required to get into industries. So I think that, yeah, college life is also important.
And yes, just a quick thing that I just recall data structures and algorithms. These two subjects are so important that uh, if not telling us how to deploy code, but it definitely tells us problem solving. When
Yeah.
we go through technology algorithms like sorting algorithms, quick sort, merge sort, or anything like graph algorithms, they definitely tell us how to handle problems which are not very whose solutions are not very apparent at the first sight. So we have to think sometimes out of the box, and if we have those algorithms as tools, we can definitely enhance our problem solving skills, and that's a very important takeaway from college, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
My question for that would be, let me summarize my take on it. I'm definitely in the camp that college or CS degree is useful, but not really useful for everyone, and it need not be the path for everyone who wants to do well in the computer science industry, right? So my question would then be, would a compressed course help? Like my view has always been like it is talking about too many things and a lot of things, and it's almost like just throw things and see what sticks kind of thing, right? Like a lot of things are thought and you just recollect some of them and then use them. Definitely data structures and algorithms, definitely you do use them. But is that something that couldn't be learned out of college for anyone who's putting in the effort to learn it? That would be my question around this. If we can have thoughts on this, because I would definitely think that anyone can pick up, anyone who's interested in who wants to put the effort can pick up some of these things and not necessarily have to go
Yeah,
through
sure.
a
Like
formal college.
we can go for data structures and algorithms from some online bootcamp also. I guess Harsh did it
Yeah,
from coding bootcamp itself.
so
So
yeah,
yeah.
I will expand on that. So like I'm a living example of that because my coding boot camp, it taught Java from basic, and then we got into basic data structures and advanced data structures and common important algorithms. So those all were things were very important. And even when I saw anything on YouTube interview wise, everybody said that data structure and algorithms are key to your cracking your interviews because your industry wants how you solve problems. So that's the most important part. Anything beside it, like other technologies can be learned, but your logic building as a computer science student is the most important part. So my boot camp like covered that front really well. So I think that area helped me to get into the industry early.
Yeah, my takeaway on this would be that college gives you a breadth of knowledge, but not a depth of knowledge. So what I mean by this is, like as Manoj mentioned, it's more of a throw down a wall and see if it sticks kind of thing. They'll teach you a huge bucket of subjects, but none of this. They won't teach you from a first principles perspective. They won't teach you why this particular topic or skill would be necessary further down the line. So, in my view, if you truly want to learn a subject, you should think about it, learn it from a first principles perspective, start from a high level understanding of it, and then move down into the details, and also learn by doing. So if you're learning algorithms and data structures, look up examples on specific algorithms and see how would this particular algorithm be useful. Or for example, if you're learning object oriented programming, what you learn in college is stuff like, okay, cat and dog and inheritance, but where it's actually used is in design patterns. So always learn it from an application oriented point of view. That will give you a more fundamental or foundational understanding of things as compared to what is normally taught in college. Yeah.
I think like college is more of a for exploration to find the thing that you're really interested in. So you're given a lot of subjects and you can explore each one out a bit and see what sticks with you, what you really want to get into. But at the same time, the colleges also like should push students into, if you are if you want to pursue this, then you should also go through this in your free time, or you should go on to this more. So they should expand on each subject a little bit, give students resources to uh, uh, go in depth in the subject of their choice more. So it should be more flexible around students' needs and choices.
Great. Yeah, nicely put, Kavin and Harsh. I think that summarizes, I think, most of our views on this. So, anything else before we move on to the final section? So, we can keep this one short. Mainly wanted to talk to folks around. I think this is a very, very common issue now for anyone, and but especially as new joinees and more specifically uh, new people into the career themselves. How are you finding the new report situation? How are you handling it? What are the things that are going well? What are things that are not going well? And how can your teams and the people that you're working with make the situation better for you?
So I would like to start with it. When we were going to the office, especially me, Sagar, and Harsh, we used to commute for like 45 to 50 minutes. We took bus
Hmm.
here and then go to office and again come back. So we were losing about 1.5 hour for every day. But now when we are working from home, we are saving that 1.5 hour and the energy to travel also. So we are focused on more of the boot camp thing, but the main con for this is there is a lack of communication between our mentor and us, so we are not that efficiently getting the guidance in this current situation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Only one point to add to that is the thing is like on both sides, right? So everyone is the things are not normal. So everyone is finding it tough to be at their usual productivity levels. So whatever we are seeing is a reflection of not just remote work, but remote work during a pandemic, essentially. So yeah, a bit of give and take has to be there, I suppose. Yeah.
I'd like to just say that as Dhaval said, that commuted for 1.5 hour. I used to live in Chennai and used to come to office. So for me, it used to take around 2.5 hours one side. So around 5 to 5.5 hours total every day. So I'm saving that amount of time every day, and that has turned out to be quite good for me because like after coming back to hostel I used to like lie down on the bed exhausted. Now that's not the situation. I'm feeling a bit I guess energetic now on. The thing is that the communication that in a way is like a thing. I like my mentor is Koshi, Arun Koshi, and we generally have a Slack call every day around 5 p.m. The thing is that when I used to sit in office, I even if I had a small doubt, I could easily ask anyone like sitting next to me or around. That is true, but okay. So we have these current situations, but everyone has to deal with it. So not I'm not having that luxury for now, but that's okay. I would say that everyone who is at their homes are trying really hard to not letting this affect their productivity, and I guess that's fine given the current situation because things change and we have to adapt accordingly. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, in my opinion, apart from the communication issues, the biggest issue for me is that there is no clear boundary between work and
Yeah.
free time.
Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
right.
Because your home place is your free time. So, like for me, what something that certainly helped is setting up a proper workplace. Workplace. This is even outlined in our company's HR guidelines for working from home. It sounds like it's a crapshoot, but it really does help because once you are at your workplace, you focus on work. You don't the feeling you still do feel like procrastinating, but you're like, okay, I'm supposed to work now. But if you're like just sitting in your bed and hacking out a problem, that's like you tend to get distracted very easily. So yeah, and setting up clear it's like protocols between your family so that even if you are working and if you're in a meeting, they should know like your door should be closed and they shouldn't be able to come in and walk in at any moment. Come, let's have lunch or something like that. So it's important to have a clear defined boundary between your workplace and yeah, your home. Yeah, that's my take on it. Manoj, you're mute.
Yeah. Anyone wants to add anything else?
Mm.
So, quick poll. So, how many of you want to continue being remote after the whole thing is over?
Not me.
That's a no from me.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay.
This was good.
Okay, I think we are done. Any parting comments from you guys? All right. Thank you all for taking this time, and I also take this opportunity to wish you a good career ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Manoj.
Yeah. See you.
Yeah, see you. Bye.